Psalm 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near you, your dwelling. For He shall give His angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because He has set His love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation.
Hey, this is Anna Kate, and you are watching His Glory Television.
And we want to welcome all of His Glory Nation from east to west to north to south. Welcome to today's Take 5. We have my friend Dr. Ardis in the house with us. He's got a new book that's flying off the shelves, and we're going to talk that and more. First, quick update. First is hurricane relief funds. Thank you for all your hurricane relief funds. We are still working in the North Carolina area and also Florida. The QR code up your top. Thank you for all that you do to help this. Christians and patriots have come together. Our government still haven't seen them on the ground in the places that we've been. I know General Flynn is walking these places literally as we speak, and I'll get caught up with him to see where the most needs or need to go. But here you can do that. Also, if you wanted to do Kingdom Fuel and Kingdom Candy, use the QR code. Many suggestions for this because there wasn't enough bottle or can openers. The Kingdom Fuel, you just put it in a drink with water, and you got a meal replacement, and 2-year shelf life. So that Kingdom Fuel and Kingdom Candy are going to the front line, and we're taking a semi in every day to get it to the people. So thank you for all that you do. Prayer kits. This is the most important thing we can do. Right here, we got to take ownership of our land. Those are the stakes. You take it to the 4 parts of your land, north, south, east, to west. The biblical scriptures are there. Mama, His Glory is giving you the possessing the land in prayer. Your anointing oil goes over your doors and windows in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Blow the shofar. The enemy does not like the sound of the shofar. Blow that shofar, as Clay Clark says, to go far. And then also you have the prayer shawls for your intense prayer. So take ownership and possession in the name of Christ around your land and your house today. Israel trip. We're heading back to Israel, so join us in Israel December 6th to the 14th. I will be going there a couple days early, meeting with some Israeli generals, getting an update on what's going on. As you know, they're probably going to go on the offense against Iran here in the next 24 to 48 hours, so our prayers are with biblical Israel. You'll go to places that no one else can go. We'll be at the legendary King David Hotel the whole time. This literally changes your life forever. It has the Bible come alive when you go to one of these trips. All right, that's all the updates. It's time for Dr. Ardis. Dr. Ardis, didn't I just see you the other day?
I think we saw each other in North Carolina multiple times, and I think we saw each other in Dallas in the baggage claim area, DFW, just like 3 days ago. Yeah, I've missed you. It's been a long 72 hours, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. So let's talk about your book that's just flying off the shelf.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. I just want you to know that everybody that I meet and talk to, including at the Reawaken Tour in Selma, North Carolina this weekend, I mean, everybody's really tired of COVID-19. No one really wants to read or discuss COVID-19 anymore. We all want it in the background. We want it in our history. The problem is, Dave, I wrote this book because of one reason and one reason only. It's called Moving Beyond the COVID-19 Lies, Restoring Health and Hope for Humanity. The reason why I wrote the book is because this year, Dave, our government in the United States published a document, and that document is called Long-Term Side Effects of COVID-19, that they now are calling long COVID. And in this document that most people haven't seen, I discuss it in one of the chapters of the book. I actually show the whole document and all of the things listed now. Our government has a list of hundreds of symptoms that they have now published this year in 2024, that if anybody got a mild case of COVID during 2020 to 2024, anytime in this period, they expect you will have symptoms, many symptoms like loss of taste and smell, ringing in your ears, depression, brain fog, tumors, cancers, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease are all now long COVID symptoms. Dave, they've even now named schizophrenia as a long COVID symptom that you will struggle with for life. They actually announced that everybody with long COVID symptoms now, anybody since 2020 that has new symptoms or a disease, they just published you're going to have your symptoms for another 10 years.
Wow.
Well, I decided it was time to show you that COVID-19 never truly was what you were told in the media. You were told that a bat coughed in China and made the whole world sick, when the truth is all of the symptoms that are now termed and summarized as long COVID that are now billable to your insurance company, your health insurance company, per our government now. Did you know that it never was confirmed by DNA evidence that the bat virus they called COVID was responsible for your symptoms? Loss of taste and smell, fever, chills, can't breathe. No. They said it was only caused by one thing. And when DNA testing was done in China, France, Germany, and Italy, Dave Scarlett and his glory, all you listeners and watchers out there, it has been confirmed with DNA evidence in 4 different countries that what makes the symptoms of COVID, 100% of them, are actually poisons manufactured by man all around the world. Wow. And it is a combined 36 different poisons. Now, Dave, at the Reawaken Tour, I actually put up on the screen, I was one of the last people to do a presentation to wrap up the conference for the weekend, and everybody was blown away, including General Flynn, who's walking the hurricane victims areas of North Carolina and the Southeast. When I got finished with his presentation, he goes, "Oh my God, the intelligence you bring to the audiences." I showed a clip that came out of Spain, the researchers group, La Quinta Columna, millions of views in the last 3 weeks. They found nanotech in all of the Pfizer, Moderna, and now dental anesthetics being used to numb people for dental procedures. They evaporated all the water out of dental anesthetics in Spain a month ago, and then they videoed underneath the microscope what was left. And there are thousands of self-assembling microchips that they video underneath the microscope lens. And then the researcher at La Quinta Columna, this research facility in Spain, they actually decided, Rafa Calvin is the researcher. You can look up the video clip, R-A-F-A Calvin, C-A-L-V-I-N, in this 3-minute clip seen by millions around the world in the last 4 weeks. In the video, only 2 names are mentioned in this 3-minute clip. Rafa Calvin, the researcher, and why he's doing a test. It's because of the research and publications of Dr. Bryan Ardis in the United States. What they took was the nanotech discovered in dental anesthetics and in Pfizer and Moderna shots, and they actually took tobacco leaves, steeped it in water, and they wanted to see what happens when the nicotine in the water from the tobacco plant alone is dropped under the microscope onto the slide with all of the nanotech. What happened? They show you, and I showed all the audiences there in North Carolina, within 5 to 10 seconds, 100% of all the microchip nanotech is completely destroyed by the nicotine in the water. And they say, La Quinta Columna out of Spain says, Share this video far and wide. Dr. Ardis has been saying for 3 years that nicotine is a cure for almost all symptoms called COVID, long COVID, and the nanotech in the COVID-19 vaccines. And they say in the actual clip, we are now going to actually purchase more Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, and we're going to run the same exact test, and we expect the exact same nanotech to be completely dissolved and cured by the organic tobacco plant that they used in this test. And then at the Reawaken Tour, I asked everybody in the audience, there's 3,000 people in the audience, I said, stand up, all of you wearing nicotine patches. And literally 90% of everybody jumped up. Clay was blown away. General Mike Flynn was blown away that everybody in the audience was aware of this truth. And in this book, Moving Beyond COVID-19 Lies, I explain perfectly in a chapter called Just in the Nicotine of Time why tobacco users, cigarette users, snuff users, and nicotine product users like nicotine gum agents, patches, suckets, mints, why it was they were the least affected with illness called COVID, least to be diagnosed with a PCR test for COVID, why smokers and tobacco users were the least to be hospitalized for COVID, and why that group, smokers and tobacco users and nicotine users, were the least of all peoples on earth of any demographic to die from any relationship to COVID-19 or the vaccines. Now, I want to explain something real quick before we answer any questions here, Dave, because I hope you have questions. All those listening, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, if you have seen our interviews on His Glory, or you've seen my stage presences or stuff on social media, where I talk about the impact and the benefits of nicotine in reversing your loss of taste and smell in minutes or days, ringing in your ears, brain fog, myocarditis is even cured with nicotine in 3 days. If you've heard me talk about these things, but you've tried it and you didn't see all your symptoms resolve within minutes or days, like so many people around the world tell me, including hundreds of people at the Reawaken Tour, North Carolina. I love you guys, and our prayers are with you, all of you that have been affected. Everybody who's tried nicotine to free themselves of the symptoms of the poisons called COVID. I want you to know in this book, I actually outline for you and show you what are the 36 different poisons they called COVID-19. And I show you the medical test to confirm them and what all the cures are. So all of you that tried nicotine and it didn't work, the majority of the 36 poisons they called COVID are cured with nicotine. But there's 12 to 15 of these poisons that are cured with other natural compounds that God put on this earth, including licorice root extract and cinnamon, which is in your pantry. So I want everybody around the world to know there are solutions and hope for you. And I'm going to turn this back over. You can get it at thedrardisshow.com. You can get it at amazon.com. And it is literally smashing records on Amazon. But God bless you all. And my goal is to bring hope and excitement and freedom from symptoms. You have this one life to live. I don't want you suffering.
Amen. Dr. Ardis, you've been ahead of this for many years now. I remember you showing me in Canton, Ohio with Dr. Bartlett. Amazing. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Dr. Ardis.
I was pregnant with my first child, getting excited and prepared for her arrival. And in that came researching baby brands. And I very quickly learned that every major diaper company was vocally or financially supporting abortion. My name is Sarah Gable Seifert, and I am one of the co-founders and president of Every Life. And it's an honor to be available to parents that are passionate about shopping in alignment with their pro-life values. We are so much more than a premium, high-performing diaper that can be delivered right to your doorstep. And we believe that every child is a gift from God, deserving of love, protection, and celebration. We have a program where we give back to pro-life organizations that are making a difference, that are helping moms and dads choose life for their baby. Join us on this journey and know that you're not only changing diapers, you're changing lives.
And we're back with Dr. Ardis. Dr. Ardis, you're talking about the nicotine in the break and how to use it. It's in your book because I tried it and I think I took too much in. But myocarditis, that blew me away when you said that reverses myocarditis. Amazing.
Oh, in the book, I actually show this. And how many people have we interviewed, Dave? You and I both on our platforms, educating people on this myocarditis, inflammation of the heart, that actually has a published 50% mortality in 5 years. That means half of the people that get this die in 5 years. And all the amounts of teenagers within 2 weeks of getting the Pfizer vaccines alone, the CDC published that male teenagers were developing and being diagnosed with this death-causing heart inflammation called myocarditis, the most than any other age group in America getting the vaccines. That means these teenagers, half of them are going to die within 5 years. However, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Dave, while you and I were being locked down, while we went traveling around the country, not allowing the government to lock us down, we weren't paying attention to that. We just kept showing up to audiences and at events all over the country and all over the world. As we were doing that, being rebels, our government was paying scientists while we were being locked down during COVID in 2021. In the middle of COVID, they were telling scientists to inject Coxsackie viruses into mammals that they knew within 24 hours would cause myocarditis in the animal to be confirmed by medical testing. And then they took these myocarditis injected with the virus vaccine to cause them to have myocarditis. They then paid, our government funded these research studies and told the scientists, now that you've created myocarditis in less than 24 hours with a shot, now we want you to reverse it. And they were only paid to do one thing, Dave Scarlett. They were paid to only inject 2 different doses of nicotine for 3 days with all the animals with myocarditis. Mammals, by the way, which you and I are. And before anybody sits there and goes, but mice and humans are not the same. Oh, just so you know, the whole reason why all drugs are studied in mice first is because research scientists declare the reason why we always test drugs and chemicals in animals like mice before we do it in human trials is because mice have 100% the same genetics we do. And if it's going to happen to a mouse, it's going to happen to a human. So when they did this to the mice during the pandemic, they know this is what's happening in humans. Then they took 2, a small dose, and then a slightly larger dose of nicotine for 3 days injections. And by day 14, Dave Scarlett, they were able to confirm that the scarring on the heart, the damage to the heart muscle called myocarditis scarring, was 100% reversed with nicotine.
Wow.
Only given to the animals for 3 days. So how many cardiologists out there that we're all listening to about myocarditis have told you that nicotine is a published cure for myocarditis and you're suffering? We have had people, I'm not joking, Dave, if you want to know how to use nicotine, and your cardiologist isn't going to tell you how to do it from these research studies, you need to get the book, Moving Beyond COVID-19 Lies, and I explain to you the dosages to help prevent and reverse any of these scenarios I'm discussing. Loss of taste and smell, myocarditis, brain fog, schizophrenia, delusions, hallucinations. These can all be benefited and reversed, including Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, I'm not joking, with just nicotine. So that's the importance of the book. We want to make sure you have the doses, what is recommended and found in research. But I think it is miraculous that there's an over-the-counter product called nicotine patches and gums that people could go get right now and start seeing improvements in their myocarditis symptoms and help reverse this high rate of mortality or death in this very simple to cure condition, which is caused by many of the 36 poisons they called COVID. So anyway, go get it now. I just want everybody to know also, I do not recommend smoking. I don't recommend commercial tobacco. However, there is organic tobacco companies. Those I do recommend, and you actually would benefit. And it might shock your audiences, Dave. People that don't want to use nicotine agents, people that don't want to use commercial nicotine products, they've actually bought organic tobacco leaves online. You can get them on Amazon, for example, and they just boiled it at home in a tea, steeped it, then took the water, and for atrial fibrillation, I'm not joking, atrial fibrillation, bradycardia, which are different problems with the heart muscle, arrhythmias, when they actually put that tobacco water and soak their feet in it, we're seeing reversals of AFib, bradycardia, and arrhythmias in less than 5 minutes of doing a foot soak with tobacco water. And I'm talking, that's never coming back after doing this several days in a row. not like continuing forever. It's just to get the poisons off of the heart muscles. And I explain in the book how it is that man-made poisons around the world, how it is they've known for the last 3 years why it is you have any of your symptoms. Dave, what are some of the symptoms you've heard from people in your audiences or around the world of what people are still struggling with in the aftermath, it feels like, of COVID-19? What are some of the things people complain about?
Brain fog, lack of focus.
Brain fog. That is a huge one. In fact, I know your audiences may not know this, but at the Reawaken Tour, all the audiences saw it. In 2023, in January, over a year and a half ago, our government tried to bury a research study. They took 4 participants, individuals who had multiple long-term health effects for at least 2 years after having COVID. Some of the symptoms were this. You still have lingering loss of taste and smell. You cannot sleep through the night. You have insomnia. That's one of the defined long COVID symptoms now. Memory lapses, like you just mentioned, is another defined long COVID symptom. Looks like dementia. Looks like you're in early onset Alzheimer's. No, you have a poison in your brain that makes you not remember stuff. And it's affecting nicotine receptors. So these are some of those things. In the Reawaken Tour this last week, I only decided to show one graph of one of the 4 participants who were 100% cured of their 2 years of suffering with only a 6-day application of a 7 milligram nicotine patch. The only one I showed was a lady, 31 years old, who had loss of taste and smell, brain fog, memory lapses, exercise-induced asthma now after having COVID, and then insomnia. Couldn't sleep through the night. They asked her to keep track of the severity of her symptoms for 4 days before starting a 7 milligram nicotine patch, and I showed the graph. And the only one I highlighted, I circled the memory lapses, this brain fog and dementia. I highlighted this one symptom of hers that she'd had for 2 years, been struggling with. On the graph, they showed that on day 1, the severity of her memory lapses was the most intense of all her long COVID symptoms. I show her reported everyday intensity and level of her memory lapse. And then the first day of applying a 7 milligram nicotine patch, 100% of her memory was recovered in the first day. 2 years of memory lapses. In the first day, all of her memory issues disappeared. All of her memory came back. Her ability to focus and articulate memories and words, all restored in 1 day. And at the end of this publication, I showed the audiences there in North Carolina, for all of you that this may be new for, and you're still struggling with long COVID symptoms, you can get my book. Please go get it. Moving Beyond the COVID-19 Lies. But if you haven't tried nicotine patches, all of you may be convinced right now listening that nicotine is addictive. You've been programmed to believe that. So I showed what the authors of this study in January of 2023, what they published as their concluding statements. Their conclusion was, we never saw any of these participants ever develop a nicotine dependency just using these 7 milligram nicotine patches for just 6 days. So it is not to be expected. So anybody out there who's struggling with long COVID symptoms, and you now are learning that nicotine could be a potential cure that could be picked up at CVS, Walgreens, on Amazon.com. The brand we recommend the most is Rugby, but it doesn't matter the version. There's just cleaner versions of these products. I wear a 3 milligram nicotine patch every single day, and I will for the rest of my life. You will learn why in the book, if you purchase the book. If you try nicotine patches just from this interview, and you or a loved one are struggling with any neurological symptoms whatsoever, ringing in your ears, brain fog, myocarditis, arrhythmias, loss of taste and smell, the first thing you should try is nicotine for 6 days straight. 100% of all of those symptoms were 100% cured by day 13 and 16 at the latest for all the people that wore a 6 days worth of nicotine patches. That's just one of the antidotes and solutions we offer in the book. But if you, for example, are struggling with symptoms of blood clotting, you've been diagnosed with blood clotting disorders since having COVID, and you're being prescribed drugs like Xarelto or others, Paxlovid or Coumadin, warfarin, or heparin, and you've never been on those before, just so you know, the poisons that were found in every COVID-19 patient, those 36 of them, there's 10 of them that cause blood clotting, and nicotine doesn't stop any of that. But there is 2 plants that are published by our government to cure all blood clots caused for any reason in the human body, including the poisons they spread throughout the world that they called COVID. And those 2 plants, along with a third in the book, the first 2 is cinnamon cassia that you have in your kitchen, has a substance in it called coumarin God put in there to destroy all blood clots formed in the human body. And then the second is what's called glycyrrhizin acid. This is actually a compound by God he put in licorice root. So licorice root extract and cinnamon should be a part of anybody's attempt to rid the body of the blood clots they're calling long COVID side effects now. These are just some of the antidotes and solutions to the possible causes of your symptoms, and it's all published in the medical literature, and then I describe it and lay it out for you and in layman's terms in this book, so it's easy for you to navigate, and then easy enough for any scientific mind or medical doctor to get a copy of this book and now know what are the next action steps to help your patients you're having a hard time helping them recover. And that's the entire reason for the book. I suffered long enough. My wife had suffered for 2 years straight. You know Jane very well, Dave.
Yep.
She had loss of taste and smell, ringing in her ears so loud for 2 years she couldn't even hear me sitting next to her on the plane talking to her or on the couch. And then she would get real dizzy and fall. That's a medical condition called POTS. She had that during those 2 years. It was 3 days of nicotine gum at a specific dose. 100% of all that was resolved. And the incredible miraculousness of that solution to free my wife of all of her symptoms is something I want everybody around the world to still be able to find hope in, because I believe God intended it for us to enjoy this life as symptom-free as possible. We only get this one chance to live. Never do I think God wanted us to suffer.
No, and thank you for bringing this. Everybody get this book. Dr. Ardis has been ahead of the curve years ago in his research and everything. Anytime you're like you're a magnet, a missile, digging deep into getting the answer. And thank you for what you do. So Dr. Ardis, get his book. It's very important that we do this. It's amazing that it's in nicotine patch. Everybody should try that. So thank you, Dr. Ardis. This wraps up today's Take 5. God bless you.
God bless you, Dave Scarlett.
Thank you, Dr. Ardis. God bless you. Yes.